The world doesn't change all at once. It tilts, quietly, almost invisibly, until suddenly everything feels different. And right now, that shift is happening on multiple fronts. Behind closed doors, in war rooms and government offices, and even on social media, pressure is building. Let's start with a story where the truth itself seems to be slipping away. Whispers of new negotiations between the United States and Iran have begun to circulate, suggesting that a breakthrough could be just days away. The idea? Reaching an agreement before the fragile 2-week truce expires. But almost as soon as those reports surfaced, they were denied. Iranian officials pushed back, insisting that no such talks had been confirmed anywhere or in any format. So who's telling the truth? Because at the same time, something else is happening behind the scenes. Reports suggest that Iran may consider easing pressure on one of the world's most critical oil choke points, the Strait of Hormuz, to avoid a total collapse in diplomacy. When actions and words don't match, it usually means one thing. Something bigger is being negotiated out of sight. Meanwhile, a political shift in Europe is already producing real-world consequences. Just days after the overthrow of Hungary's long-standing leadership, progress has been made on an issue that had previously seemed intractable. Oil, the Druzhba pipeline, one of the continent's key energy lifelines, is now set to resume full operation. Energy could begin flowing back into Hungary and beyond within weeks. Symbolism matters in politics. Here, the symbolism is striking. As one era ends, supply lines reopen. However, not all changes are happening quietly. Some are loud, unexpected, even risky. In Russia, voices that were once silenced are now speaking out, and they are being heard by millions. A well-known influencer with nearly 13 million followers released a video that broke an unspoken rule by addressing the president directly. Her message was far from subtle. She spoke of fear and how it touches everyone, from ordinary citizens to regional leaders. She described a growing disconnect between those in power and reality, where problems on the ground are no longer reaching those at the top. Floods, pollution, economic pressure, rising costs. It's a country that is struggling, but afraid to say so. And she's not alone. In recent weeks, even those who once supported the system have started to question it. Criticism is no longer only coming from outside. It's emerging from within. When insiders start speaking out, it signals something deeper than mere dissent. It signals fracture. This division may also be influencing decisions at the highest level. Across Europe, leaders are watching closely, and some are already taking action. There is now a serious push to change how major decisions are made within the European Union. Specifically, the aim is to remove the veto, a powerful tool that has slowed action for years. The argument is simple. If one country can block everything, then nothing moves forward. However, removing this power will not be easy. For many nations, the veto isn't just a procedure. It's leverage. Giving up leverage is never voluntary. Consensus won't be the next step. It will be a fight for control. While politicians debate systems and structures, the human cost of conflict continues to rise. Another strike has hit the city of Dnipro. A missile. Civilian areas. Casualties. Lives lost. Dozens have been injured. Infrastructure damaged. For those on the ground, there is no debate about policy. Only survival matters. However, back in Hungary, a different kind of battle is beginning. The incoming leadership is opening the door to something that was once unthinkable: an external investigation. Specifically, by European prosecutors. The focus? Billions of euros of EU funding that may have been misused over the years. The message is clear: nothing is off limits. This includes examining the actions of those who once held power. For the first time in decades, a political system that seemed untouchable may now be subject to real scrutiny. This raises a difficult question. What will happen when accountability finally arrives? Elsewhere, something even more unusual is happening. After more than 3 decades of silence, 2 long-standing adversaries are preparing to sit down together at the negotiating table. Israel, and Lebanon. Direct talks, set to take place in Washington, could address three of the region's most explosive issues: a ceasefire, disarmament, and the prospect of peace. However, not everyone wants this conversation to happen. Hezbollah has already condemned the talks, branding them as a surrender, and therein lies the problem. When peace becomes controversial, it means conflict has gone on for far too long. Nevertheless, the stakes are enormous. If the talks fail, the region risks descending into something far worse. Meanwhile, another kind of war is unfolding, one that doesn't rely on missiles or tanks. In Estonia, the authorities have uncovered what they describe as a widespread network of individuals with links to Russian intelligence. 16 people have been detained. But here's the twist. Most of them weren't spies in the traditional sense. They weren't stealing classified documents or infiltrating government offices. Their battlefield was digital: social media, online communities, information. According to officials, their goal wasn't to gather secrets. It was to shape perception and create instability from within. In today's world, after all, influence can be more powerful than information. Amid all this tension, however, a different kind of milestone has been quietly reached, one that doesn't involve conflict at all. For the first time ever, a woman is set to lead the Australian army. This is a moment that breaks a barrier that has stood for generations. This is not just symbolic, but structural. This comes as part of a broader effort to reshape the military itself, increasing representation and redefining leadership. Progress doesn't always make headlines, but sometimes it changes history. However, not all leadership stories are the same. In some places, power is still exercised very differently. In Belarus, for example, a moment intended to demonstrate loyalty took on an almost surreal quality. Eager to please, state-aligned figures publicly praised even the most trivial gestures from leadership, such as sharing luxury food. One official, in an attempt to impress, even ate something not meant for humans. It was absurd, almost comedic, but beneath the surface it revealed something serious. When loyalty replaces honesty, reality disappears. Finally, back in Russia, pressure may be forcing a change of direction. After attempting to restrict one of the country's most widely used communication platforms, the authorities are reportedly reconsidering their position. Why? Because the consequences are becoming too significant to ignore. Economic impact, public frustration, and perhaps most importantly, declining approval ratings. Even the strongest systems start to adjust when support drops. Not out of choice, but out of necessity. That's where things stand right now. Negotiations that may or may not be taking place. Alliances are shifting. Voices rising from unexpected places. Systems that were once rigid are beginning to bend. The question is no longer whether change is coming, it's how far it will go. The real question is who will be ready when it arrives.